Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 324. We're covering movies that are coming out the week of Friday, December 12th, 2025. There is a little bit of a caveat to this week, to this month. It's because there's a lot of best year of type of movies that we're not getting because they're walling off most critics from, they're telling critics to see them at the movie theater. And a lot of these movies that are coming out this month are coming out either a very limited release for Oscar consideration, or they're just for critics or making them go see it in theaters. So the next couple of weeks is going to be a little bit wonky for me, Bruce and Eric, where we're covering a couple of new movies here and there, but a lot of the big breadth of the coverage that we're going to do as far as weekly movies opening on that given Friday will start on January 1st, 2026. But that does not mean we're not covering some good stuff. We got some good stuff this week. Yes, Eric Holmes.
There's a second caveat. There's the Academy Award movies, and then there's the movies that should be Academy Award movies but aren't, and people don't check them out, but we do.
We do. It's weird because Eric, and Bruce, we cover a lot of movies on a given week, on a given year, and a lot of the movies, to trumpet what Eric was saying.
Is Reverence on the short list? Probably not, but
Reverence. Oh, wow. I love that. Reverence. We might be talking about Reverence in a few moments. Maybe Eric, I know he gave it 5 stars, but he saw the movie 3 weeks ago. So I just saw it today. I will have a little bit more of my take on Reverence. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a mini rewind with Eric on Reverence. Eric Holmes, you were not here last week. How are you doing? I'm going to throw the floor. I'm going to throw the episode to you. I'm going to let you steer a lot of things here, which I think is good. It's usually better for the show when you're steering things, but I'm going to throw it on.
I don't know if I agree with that. But
I do. I think most people listening agree with that, including Bruce is over up in the attic, sniveling and snorting or whatever, doing something up in the attic right now. I could hear him right now, just groveling in his animalistic tones.
Might be snorting a bit. The drug dealer did just come by. I was wondering what they were doing.
Eric, I always like to speak to you with movies because we have the same, pretty much. There's nothing against Bruce. We love Bruce. He's more insightful than Eric and I to the fifth power. He has all these really great filmic look. But Eric and I, we're on the same wavelength when it comes to movies we love. I missed you last week, Eric. I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to let you say whatever you want to say, and then we might have something after the show as well. So take it away.
I lost my brother a Sunday night. I was working karaoke at Toki and then got done and then was going to head over to my friend's house. And from the time I left Toki to the time I got to my friend's house, my sister tried to call and my phone doesn't work when it's not near Wi-Fi. And even if it did, I don't use my phone when I'm driving anyway. So I get there, and as soon as I get there, we got to go. And yeah, my brother Steve died, and it sucked. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to handle it, and I certainly wasn't going to be able to kind of watch movies and sort of take them in properly. I definitely wanted to talk to you, and we've had so many people hit us up and come over to the house and remember them and all that stuff, and that's been nice. But as far as doing the show last week, it's like first of all, there's no way I'm going to have.
I don't know why you're doing the show this week, by the way. I have no idea.
It wasn't like, oh, poor me, I can't do the show. It wasn't anything like that. It was being able to find time to watch some movies with just all the stuff going on that you got to deal with. On top of that, just watching a movie, it's hard to pay attention to this right now.
Right, exactly.
I've watched plenty of movies since last week, but they've just been on TV and like pictures moving, background, white noise, that sort of thing. Which was another thing movies are good for. Sometimes they tell a story, and sometimes they're telling a story, but you're not paying attention to the story. You just need the distraction, the thing on in the background. So
that's helped, actually. The white noise helps when you're going through trauma, right? I'm assuming.
A little bit. Yeah. But point being is I didn't want to come in on the show and do reviews, and I didn't think it would be fair to the movies that I'm reviewing because I wasn't locked in the way that I probably should be. This week's a little different. Kind of got all the family, friends. The amount of support our family's received over this has been amazing. It's crazy how one life, how far that reaches. And I think a lot of people, you feel like, oh, no one cares. And Greg's gonna say something self-deprecating to that point, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, your life reaches a lot of people in brilliant, beautiful ways. Keep it going as much as you can.
Yeah,
But I'm here now, and we're gonna
yes.
talk some movies.
And then I think Eric, you had a maybe we will maybe shelf this idea, but if you want to
Oh
learn
yeah,
more,
yeah. But I was telling Greg, it was like this is already going our way longer than I anticipated. But we'll probably talk a little more about this and then put it on a separate thing. Did record some stuff with Steve like a while ago, so maybe we'll kind of add it to that as a tribute, and maybe just talk about loss and grief in general. But that's not for here. Here's for the fun stuff. Here's for
right.
stuff.
And Eric, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but again, I said this last week. There is a GoFundMe link for. I know you
Yes.
don't want me to say this, but there's a GoFundMe link for Brandon. Right?
Mhm.
Tell listeners who Brandon is.
Brandon is just some dude. No,
Just some guy.
Brandon's Steve's son.
Yeah.
Steve was Brandon's only parent. His mom was never in his life. And now that Steve's gone, Brandon's living with my other brother, Pat, and his wife, Courtney, back in Omaha for now. Not sure if that's going to be permanent, but we're trying to figure this out. But
Wow.
yeah, the GoFundMe is for, I believe it's for like his education or whatever Brandon needs, that sort of thing.
So that is a GoFundMe link for Brandon. It's up on our show notes. And if you can, just check out the page so you can get a little bit more information on Brandon and Steve and the Holmes family and whatnot. And I don't have anything really wise to say. All I know is when my dad died, I'm not gonna ask you if you cried or not, but I still haven't cried since my dad died.
I haven't.
Okay. And I'm not gonna I will put words in your mouth because I think one of the reasons why possibly you haven't cried as of yet is because you're talking about the family, the loved ones. They're sharing stories of Steve and you have to be there for a lot of people. I'm not saying I'm some kind of rock, but what I did is I remember I and I apologize. This is going a little bit longer before we get to reviews.
I mean, we might as well just do the thing now, and then we can start the actual show over.
Okay, you're the boss of this episode.
We didn't know this, but apparently this is the part after the show that.
Okay, and I apologize for that. I will say this: when my dad died, he's in the hospital room. I don't want to sound like an Edgar Allan Poe novel, but his corpse is right there. And my brother-in-law and my mom and my sister, they're breaking down, understandably. And I don't know why I'm not crying. I'm texting and talking. Actually, I remember Anderson and I were talking on the phone, right? And we were discussing about what were the next movies this week on CinemAddicts. The show must go on. And I remember it's a weird thing because I didn't take that week off. What I did was, I think I did it the other way that you did. And this has been emblematic of my life. I use movies as a way to cope with not even dealing with life. So in a weird way, movies help me not deal with life. And it's actually steeled me against my dad. God rest his soul, was the best friend of my life. And I think the reason why we're so close, and we talked about a lot of things, that when he passed, it was something that there were no words that were not left unsaid. So I was able to move on and do CinemAddicts. And obviously CinemAddicts compared to your loved ones and your brother is like an ant trying to live
They're equal
on Mars.
Oh.
An ant and Mars being your loved ones and your family. That said, sometimes those little ants help you get through your day. And that's the way I process my grief. I bury it in like the end of Prisoners. It's all the way down into the earth. Who knows? Someone might be calling me out to open that whatever, and who knows? But thank you, Eric, for just coming by this week. That's why I said, look, you could have had a couple weeks if you want, but man.
The weird thing is I didn't cry either but I haven't seen his body yet. So I was at the scene where he killed himself.
Sure.
And so the weird thing is, because I went to the Nickel and I thought we were going there to meet up with my sister and a bunch of other people, because I thought maybe he went home and did it. I wasn't quite sure, but we got there and there was like cop cars everywhere. And I'm like, oh, what the hell happened now? And then we get there and his car's there and there's tape, crime scene tape stuff around it. And he's in the car and I can't see him from where we're standing. And then when they finally they put him in the truck to drive his body off. He was covered up at that point, thank God.
Of course.
Didn't want to see watching that stuff in movies. Awesome. Watching the stuff in real life, especially if it's your brother, probably don't need to see that.
Definitely not.
But no, I've not. I think my sister and my mom and my brother, I think they went down to look at the body. And I was like, I know what he looks like. Don't need to see it again.
100% cremation, or
yeah. And so we're doing a celebration of life on January 8th because it's Elvis's birthday. But yeah. I think the hardest part was because at that time, Brandon was at our place. He was just like sleeping on the couch. And when we finally get home, I'm just looking at Brandon because he didn't know yet. And none of the kids knew yet. And I'm looking at Brandon just like sleeping. I'm just looking at him and go, he's about to have the worst day of his life tomorrow. This freaking sucks. And that's probably the closest I came to crying. But yeah, oddly enough, I just felt detached from myself. And it was like, I don't know.
Right.
It's where I wonder if it's like a thing where it's like, I could cry about it, but what's that going to do? But what's laughing going to do? You don't think about it. You just do it. And I don't know. I feel like a dead soul inside like you. It's weird because like I'll watch a movie that's like emotionally moving and I'll be able to cry to that. But I can't cry to my own brother dying.
Right. But
it's weird.
We know obviously that's no indication of the love you have for your brother, the love I have for my father. People process it. Or is it? People process their stuff so many different ways. And just all the best to you, of course, and your family and Steve and Brandon. We just wish you the best.
I guess one of the funny things is when I get to my friend's house, because at that point I didn't know what was going on. I talked to him about it later. They got the call from my sister like a few minutes before I got there. It's like, is Eric with you? And it's like, oh no, he's grabbing some beers and he's on his way over. And he's okay. And then Frankie told him. And then he was off the phone. He's oh crap, Eric's gonna be here any second. What do we tell him? What do we do? Wow. And then I walk in, I'm like, hey guys, got the beers. And they're like, we got to go. First thing he says is he brings me out back. It's like, we got to go right now. I'm like, what are the cops on the way? What the hell are you still doing here? Just go. I'll figure it out. No, Steve killed himself. And I was like, oh, that okay.
Wow.
But yeah, for that brief moment, I was like, the cops are on the way. What'd you do? What happened? Let's get the hell.
That is a weird blending of tones and January 8th celebration of life and
and on top of that, and if I pass away, when I pass away, it'll happen eventually. My brother was always super into dark humor. So the dark humor jokes have been flowing rampantly, and as classless and tasteless as it may sound, that's been a huge help as well.
Yeah, that's a sign of how close you are, and a sign of love. Yeah. Did you see those Conan O'Brien videos from a couple of days ago when who was it? I think it was Jason Bateman, and who's the other guy who does that podcast? There's Bateman, and I'm forgetting the name of the guy from Arrested Development. He started with Bateman in Arrested Development. Will Arnett? Will Arnett? Is that the guy?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I was going to say David Cross, but...
Right. No. I think it was Will Arnett, and he was on Conan's show, and he was sharing the text messages with Conan after Conan's father passed away. They started throwing back and forth dark humor. And then a couple of days later, after Conan's father passed away, Conan's mom passed away within several days of each other. So it was they were sharing these text threads with Will and Jason Bateman and Conan and Brian, all of this gallows dark humor, like you were talking about, how you and Steve had that. So it was really great. Sometimes this dark humor is the best way to process the grief.
Yeah. So I guess since this will be the part that we're saving till after the show.
Okay. Yeah. It's at the front end.
Yeah, we do.
We're gonna save the movies at the after. The movies are an extra part of this episode. So, folks, we just switched it up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But we put these up on the Hodgepod on Find Your Film. But me and Steve's recorded a couple of IMDb games. I think we did one of Joel Schumacher and another of Bart the Bear. And listen back to the Bart the Bear one, or just going like just complete deadpan the whole way. Bart the Bear. What character did he play in that one? He was the bear. Oh, he was the bear. Okay, and it was kind of silly, stupid, but
Okay.
but it shows you kind of like sort of Steve's sense of humor and just was character in general. Hopefully I think I have it in my hard drive. Hopefully I can find it and would tag it onto this part that we're going to cut out for the later part. But
I think we're just going to keep this at the front end. And I think maybe this might be an idea that we can put all that stuff at the end. The stuff with.
Yeah. If I can find it. If not, you can still find the Finder Film podcast and it'll be on there. But
okay,
if I can find it, we can tag it on here too, just so it's easy to find. But
okay, and
I don't know if I can or not. I got to see if I still got it.
Oh, no worries. Rest in peace to Steve, and all the best to the Holmes family at this I was going to trying to be very insightful, but I'm not very insightful. But all the best and love to you and your family, Eric. So,
yeah.
Now we're gonna get to movies, but Eric, before I get to movies, I want to give a shout out to our fellow CinemAddicts member and Patreon member, Ryan Smith, who on our CinemAddicts Facebook page, he put my big fat Asian head on top. He superimposed it on top of another body, okay, which is a lot slimmer than my body, and it was a picture of my head on someone else's body plugging this camera called the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And then he made the joke about me being a glad hander, me trying to sell it, which is a very funny joke because the last several episodes, a lot of times I use a Pocket 3, Osmo Pocket 3 as my web camera, and it craps out a lot of times. Eric has been witness to just me going off on this camera. Listeners, this part, if you're thinking of a web camera, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 is not a good webcam. I'm using it right now. It might look okay. But Eric, how many times has it crapped out on us over the last several episodes, the last couple months? How often? Once an episode, maybe? What do you think?
Never. It's been strong as steel and works exactly perfectly every time.
Oh boy, that's Eric Holmes playing the company line. I understand. I like the company line because that will get us more monies.
Oh wait. This is not an ad.
This is not an ad.
Yeah, it breaks down almost
on a regular.
Set your watch to how much it breaks down.
Yeah, so thanks, Ryan Smith, for that very funny post, and you're making me relive my hatred for the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Thank you, Ryan Smith. Speaking of Ryan Smith and our other CinemAddicts Facebook group members, we have our Patreon picks for this month, the month of December, the last month of 2025. Eric Holmes, can you do me a favor and read the 3 movies we're going to be covering on Patreon? And I'm going to let you randomly do which one of the 3 is going to be our assigned pick. So if you can, read those 3 movie picks for this month.
Yes. We have Sleepless Night, brought to us from Joseph Bridges.
Yes, we love Joseph Bridges.
House of Tolerance, Kayn Cunningham.
And Kayn Cunningham, he likes some of these salacious, off-the-beaten-path indie movies. So this looks like one of those very interesting movies. So I'm excited for House of Tolerance and Sleepless Night as well. And yes, finally, Eric Holmes.
And the next one is Your Next. I believe it's spelled incorrectly here.
Oh,
it's not my next. It's Your Next.
All right, Your Next.
Yeah, Mitch Burns put in Your Next. And I've not seen any one of these. So this will be a good one.
Okay, why don't we put, I think Your Next might sound like a very genre-fied film. We'll put Your Next as our assigned pick. Our assigned pick for Patreon goes to our regular feed. So that'll be our assigned pick, Eric Holmes. So mention that to Bruce Perky as well. But then for our Patreon picks, that will be a Patreon-only episode. We will be reviewing House of Tolerance. Thank you, Kayn Cunningham. And Sleepless Night. Thank you, Joseph Bridges. All right, Eric Holmes, we're done Patreon. Also, I have this idea. Did we do this last year, Eric? Because your memory actually, even though you say your memory is a piece of you-know-what.
It is.
I think sometimes your memory might serve you a lot better than it serves me. Last couple of years, have we taken a week off at the end of December? Maybe that December 25th week? Because I was thinking, oh, you're shaking your head. No?
No, if I remember correctly, which, again, speech is the best, I believe we might have recorded early and then put it up, and then
spread it out for those 2 weeks.
I think that's how we did it.
All right, I like that idea. So next week we're actually, Eric, talk to Bruce over in the attic. But I don't like talking to Bruce Perky.
You getting this?
Yeah.
Getting this? He's listening, and he always does.
Tell Bruce that we're gonna work a little bit double time next week. We'll do maybe 2 episodes or something next week, and then maybe that final week I'll spread it out over 2 weeks. Does that make sense, Eric? I don't know. Yeah. And then because our final week, we're gonna actually do an episode, Eric. But that episode will be our Patreon.
We can do the best of the year a week early, and screw those movies that want to come in under the wire. Sorry if you're not early or late.
Exactly.
And it also flies in the face of we haven't seen all the Oscar contenders yet. Like, they should have came out. They had all year to come out. I don't know why they're waiting till February to come out. And I'm not going to wait till February to do my best of 2025.
It's weird. And
I ain't seen anything from the 25th or the 30th anyway, so go after yourself. Late ass movie.
Yes, F all of you guys. Now let's get to our featured movies this week. We only had one movie because Eric Holmes and we didn't find any new movies except one movie. And it's actually not new. And then I have another new movie. But the thing is, Bruce Perky over the Cinematic, he has a couple of movies to also review towards the tail end of this episode. He has Five Nights at Freddy's 2. He has this movie called, and then finally he reviewed the Netflix film Jay Kelly, which stars George Clooney. Eric Holmes and I, however, we have this movie called Hunting Season. Stars Mel Gibson, Sophia Hublitz, and Shelley Hennig. And written by Adam Hampton. How do we know Adam Hampton? Actually, how do you know Adam Hampton, Eric Holmes?
Never heard of him before. We'll see. No, he was in Reverence.
Right, he's the lead in Reverence, and we might be talking about that as well.
And we'll talk about that.
Well, Adam Hampton this time is not starring in this movie in Hunting Season.
Unfortunately, but
all right, he's a screenwriter for this movie, and it centers on a mysterious young woman that's played by Shelley Hennig. She is shot, bleeding out, bruised up, found in a riverbank in the middle of the woods by this guy played by Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's character, he lives out in a really beautiful home/cabin out in the middle of the woods. He finds this woman who's bleeding out on that bank, and he rescues her, and he takes this woman home to the cabin where his granddaughter, played by Sophia Hublitz, lives as well, and they try to nurse her back into health. The problem is, like I said, this woman she was shot, and she was bleeding out. So there must be some kind of criminal element or something very nefarious going on, possibly. And they have to get to the bottom of this.
Or it's just innocent, and they were playing kickball, and who knows what could happen.
And who knows what could happen. And we're not going to say exactly what happens. Just know that this small town, there are a bunch of criminals residing in this small town. There might be corruption. Who knows what's going on with the law enforcement? Are they corrupt? Who knows? Are there drugs going on? Is there trafficking? Whatever. Let's just say there's a criminal element in the town. And the great thing about the Mel Gibson character and his granddaughter is they've lived in pretty much shelter in this beautiful cabin house for their entire existence. They live so far off the grid that every morning, whenever he has to get some supplies, he tells his granddaughter, hey, I need to go out. I need to get into town to get my supplies. So this is a small town crime thriller starring Mel Gibson, Sophia Hublitz, and Shelley Hennig. And that is the premise of Hunting Season. I should have written down, it's around a 90 to 94 minute film. Eric Holmes.
About that.
Yeah, it's again written by Adam Hampton. Let me look at, I think it was R.J. Collins is the director. I'll look it up right now.
Yes.
But, okay. Yeah, R.J. Collins is the director. I have my own thoughts on Hunting Season as a fan of Mel Gibson, and I actually like Shelley Hennig as well. She was in a movie called Cult Killer from 2024, and I think Sophia Hublitz was in Ozark. I like all these actors. So I was locked into this cheeseburger type thriller. Eric Holmes, your review of Hunting Season.
Yeah, this kind of, Hunting Season starring Mel Gibson. You think, I don't know, Mel Gibson the movies that he directs are usually like pretty dang good. And the movies he acts in are pretty not always great. So I wasn't quite sure. And I didn't know that Adam Hampton wrote this, so I wasn't quite sure what I was getting into at first. But this turned out to be pretty good. It was kind of like a Scott Cooper-esque kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's got the darkness to it, but it's not like wall to wall. It's definitely not wall to wall action. It does have a scene like towards the end that it builds up to,
It's
but
Eric. It's more of a family drama. A lot of times, it's more of a family drama meets
family drama
meets
that
with the
definitely
inevitable
that.
showdown at the end. I guess.
Yeah, it's almost like even the thriller elements are kind of like back there, kind of sets tone, but it doesn't even lean into the thriller aspect too much. It's just a looming threat throughout the movie. But yeah,
The ending surprised me a little bit. There was a couple of things that I thought would happen to certain characters, and I had my guesses, and I was wrong. I was wrong with some of my guesses. I don't know if you were wrong.
so there was a bit about the ending that kind of made me go, okay, what happened there? Because there's we would have to get into spoilers, but there was something sort of unresolved with
Okay, with one of the characters. Okay, with
yeah.
one of the characters. Okay, that's very interesting.
Like you get the main idea of what happened, but there's certain specifics like what okay.
I actually, why not?
They
Wow.
just skipped over that, but
Well,
let's delve into that a little
I have an
bit
idea.
more.
This could not work, but why don't I'm going to cut this part out right now. But Eric, I'm going to cut this section out and I'm going to save it for our spoilers. Okay, so guys, so we're back. Eric and I just did about a 10-minute spoilerific stuff for hunting season. We're going to actually put that over for our Patreon members, but then release it maybe several days later on our cinematics.
But on Patreon, you can watch the whole thing in real time. It's
Yeah, it's in real time. Yeah, you're going to see it in real time, folks. Yeah. Hunting season, Eric, before your rating and final thoughts on hunting season. If you want, I can go first or whatnot.
Yeah, go ahead. I get all the spoilers out of my brain and put the non-spoiler stuff in there.
Okay, for me, hunting season is elevated cheeseburger, meaning I liked where it went. I really enjoyed the family drama behind it. The storytelling was pretty solid about this really insular family, this guy and his granddaughter. They're living a sheltered life, and what will they do to actually help a stranger? I like that theme behind hunting season. And I also like the fact that it looks like a B or a Z level action movie, and it's not until we get towards the end. There are a couple of action sequences throughout the narrative, but mainly it's a family drama, which has some nice twists, which we talk about in our spoilers. But overall, solid Mel Gibson movie. Liked Sophia Hublitz and Shelley Hennig. They were also very, very good. Ultimately, this movie is a three-hander set in a house, right? With a bunch of people outside of it. So it was a very interesting movie. Hunting season for me, no, not a 3.5-star movie. This is a 4-star film for me because I can watch this movie over and over again. Kudos to Adam Hampton for writing the script to Hunting Season. Again, directed by R.J. Collins. Eric, your final thoughts and rating for Hunting Season?
I think I'm right with you on the 4 stars. God has a Jeremy Saulnier sort of vibe to it, where it's like but yeah, you go in thinking, oh, it's gonna be a silly action movie with Mel Gibson, and then you're watching and go, oh, this is a little more, probably a little closer to Blue Ruin maybe than it is to Double Impact or I can't think of anything right now.
Right. Yeah.
But I do dig the Adam Hampton writing this, which he was in it, but I'm digging this Adam Hampton, Kyle Harris sort of thing between this and Reverence. And then looking at Adam Hampton's other movies he got, looks like he's got some kind of B movie, horror movie stuff.
Got to watch those now.
Because I watched Reverence and Hunting Season are kind of like we're serious business. We got the family drama, we got the thriller aspects, all that. I can't wait to go back and see I think he's got a movie coming out called The Worms. It looks like it might be Corman-esque kind of movie, so
very cool.
Be fun to see that sort of aspect of them. But yeah, Hunting Season, this was really good. Between that and Reverence, I'm way excited for anything these guys got coming out.
Yeah, you and I we're genre guys. So if a movie is just a genre-fied movie and it hits the lowest common denominator as an action movie, we're not going to dock it for that. But sometimes
it still needs to do that.
Right.
You can't say, oh, we're just a dumb action movie. Look at us. And you still have to hold the camera down. You still have to show us geography. You still need to do the basic things of it'd be like having a comedy. You're not so concerned about the how it's shot, or you're not so concerned with what the plot is, but you still got to have jokes in there because it's a comedy. So if you don't have the jokes, you're dead in the water. Same with a genre fi like B action movie. Okay, the characters do things that don't make sense. The story's stupid, but are the action scenes good? Yes, they are, and that's exactly why I came here. And there's a lot of them. But yeah, this is really bad. This only has one action scene at the very end, but
Yeah, this is more.
it does the drama well. It does the kind
Mhm.
of thriller aspects well. The looming threat, the big bad throughout, which he's not in it a lot, but when he shows up, it's oh, okay, something crazy is about to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good
By
stuff.
the way, that house in the middle of the woods, I'm not a I'm not a woods person. I'm not an outdoors person. I'm a city slicker. Eric, if you had a house like that, would you be cool? Would you like to be living out in the middle of the woods, out from the things of man, away from the things of man, out with amongst the deer and the critters out there? Could you, if you had a house like that, would you be happy?
Yeah. In fact, me and my sister lived out in a cabin for a couple months before when we were leaving the one place and we moved into where we currently are.
Mm.
Our friend had a cabin up near Woodland Park, not quite in Woodland Park, but near Woodland Park, and Green Mountain Falls, I think. But yeah, we were in a cabin out there for a couple months, and it was
What's that like living out in the cabin with just trees all around you? I'm assuming and critters. I nice.
pretty much the same as it is here. I'm a homebody, so I don't go outside anyway.
It doesn't matter. Right.
Yeah.
I'm a homebody as well. All right. So that's 4 stars for Eric Holmes, 4 stars for me for Hunting Season, an elevated. I don't even know. I don't even want to call it a crime thriller. It's just an elevated thriller, right? And Eric is levitating. So that is Hunting Season. Currently, it came out December 5th in theaters. Most of you will be able to watch it on digital and on demand. I will leave an Amazon link, okay? Because Eric and I both, oh yeah, if you click on the link to rent and purchase Hunting Season, Eric and I get the money. But Bruce Perky, we don't give him 1 penny. Oh, we give a little bit of change to Anderson count. You don't tell Bruce Perky we don't give him any money, right? Amazon still. Yeah, Bruce Perky, I hope you're not listening. You're not getting scratch. You're getting nada. But yeah, thank you guys.
We're not even giving you kibble for that.
So I will leave a Amazon link if you want to rent and purchase Hunting Season. Thanks for supporting CinemAddicts. Eric has one final movie. It's a documentary called This Ordinary Thing. The interview is on our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. It was in theaters in New York last week. It's going to have some kind of staggered release right now. I don't know what's going on with this weekend, but I think as of this recording, there's going to be one final screening in New York, but then there should be more screenings down the road. But what can you tell us about This Ordinary Thing, Eric Holmes?
Not much. No. Yeah, it's a World War II documentary. It's basically, I guess, like right behind me, I got a poster for Valkyrie, directed by a POS, but the movie's good. And it's about, you always hear about the atrocities of the Nazis, but you don't hear much about the people that fought back. There's stuff here and there, Valkyrie being one of them. And this is another one. A lot of the documentary is stories of people that would house like Anne Frank, for example. You heard of Anne Frank, you don't hear of the risks that the family that housed Anne Frank went through. And so that's what this entire documentary is about. Just people that put themselves out there. There's a bunch of footage, like not found footage, but
Archive material.
Archive footage. And then there's some stuff I was looking in this where the archive materials like, where, like, how did they get this shot? And I found out later, I talked to the director, that there's certain stuff that they shot for the documentary. And then, so there's archive material, and then there's stuff that are kind of like reenactments, and they blend well. I think maybe a little too well, because it comes off as, oh, this really happened. And it did happen, but not as we're seeing it. Does any of this make sense?
Makes sense. Oh, interesting.
Like, kind of, if you're watching archive footage, it's, oh, I'm seeing this thing. This really happened at some point, and someone was just happened to catch it on camera. When you're doing the reenactments, but they look like the archive footage, it sort of blends the two, and I don't really know quite how I feel about that. I would say for the documentary, it's incredibly effective, but it goes a little too close to the line towards misinformation for me. But that being said, the people's stories they're telling in this are important because so many people, the whole point of This Ordinary Thing is the fact that people put their necks out to hide the Jews, like in that they'll live with them, but they'll hide in this like this fake wall or whatever.
Mhm.
They'll live behind there. They got poop and pee in like little buckets and stuff, and then the people at that house would be like, "Oh yeah, just dump in this bucket for no other reason at all
Mhm.
because we don't have a bunch of people." And then the reason it's called This Ordinary Thing is how could you do that? It was so dangerous. So many the Nazis could have found out. You could have been killed. Your family could have been killed. And so, I don't know. It's just an ordinary thing people do for each other when they're in trouble. And yeah, they're basically heroes in putting themselves at risk. And then, but in their mind, they're like, "Yeah, this is just what we do." And they also have a bunch of people kind of reading. I think like John Leguizamo, Steve Lang, Donald Logue. Like they have like actors come in and read kind of like excerpts or
Diary entries, that kind of stuff.
yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, oh my
And
gosh.
so that-
Helen Mirren, F. Murray Abram, Eric Bogosian, Ellen Burstyn, Carrie Coon, Hope Davis. A lot of great actors.
Oh yeah,
Marsha Gay Harden, Lily Tomlin, all over.
Marsha Gay Harden from what's that movie we just saw?
Day Trippers.
There you go.
And Hope Davis from the Day Trippers is also there. Is also
Yeah.
one of the readers in This Ordinary Thing.
So This Ordinary Thing is a Day Trippers reunion movie, but no, this is a really good documentary. Also an Emma special, I do believe. So
Oh yeah, we love Emma special. We love Emma specials. Emma's a great publicist. And this Ordinary Thing right now.
We're supposed to talk about this 2 weeks ago, but things happened.
Things happen, exactly, Eric. This movie, This Ordinary Thing, is directed by Nick Davis. Came out last week on December 5th. Again, probably ends its run this week, but it will be available in North American territories, US and Canada, a VOD release starting March 31st. Eric will have more information when March 31st rolls around, and he'll give you guys a reminder to go catch This Ordinary Thing. Eric Holmes, final thoughts and rating on this documentary.
Yeah, it's really basic. Again, there's that little bit that rides the line of misinformation, but documentaries do reenactments, so I guess it's fine here. And I'm not going to knock too hard on that. But yeah, 4 stars is good.
4 stars from Eric Holmes.
Good stuff
from Eric Holmes.
Telling stories about people that should have a spotlight on because they did a great thing. They
100%.
put themselves in great peril to do that.
100%. Okay, so that is This Ordinary Thing. That is from a review from Eric Holmes. Finally, there's a movie called Turbulence. This will be a 30-second review. Eric, it stars Olga Kurylenko. What's your rating on Turbulence?
6.9 stars. I'll write it down for you.
All right, we love Olga. Look, Eric and I love Olga Kurylenko. Why? Boudica, Queen of War. She's awesome, and she's done a lot of other stuff, but Boudica, Queen of War, directed by who, Eric Holmes?
Oh,
how dare you? How dare you, Eric Holmes? Jesse V. Johnson.
Yes, Jesse V. Johnson.
That should be in your blood, Eric Holmes. In your blood.
Is.
Okay, please. Jesse V. Johnson. Say that 3 times. Jesse V. Johnson.
Jesse V. Johnson. Yes,
Jesse V. Johnson.
I do know.
Louis Mandalore. Louis Mandalore. Scott Adkins.
I was in the middle of opening up an email. I'm like,
Yes, we love Boudica, Queen of War. If you haven't seen it yet, it stars Olga Kurylenko. It's directed by Jesse V. Johnson. We love Jesse V. Johnson so much. And I think there's a Jesse V. Johnson movie that's coming out soon. I think I have to look it up. I forgot what it was. I'll look it up after we're done with this show, Eric.
Which one?
There's a Jesse V. Johnson movie coming up. I think it's in our emails. I'll have to track it down. But Jesse V. Johnson did not direct this movie. The movie's called Turbulence. It stars Olga Kurylenko. It also stars Kelsey Grammer, Jeremy Irvine, and Hera Hilmar. These are 4 actors. And it's a very simple plot. 4 people, they're up on a hot air balloon, stuff happens. Okay? What happens is Jeremy Irvine, he plays this very rich corporate executive who had a very rough day at work because he had to fire a lot of people at his office, and he's the bigwig. And what happens is, to blow off some steam, he goes to his local bar lounge, and he has a drink. And across the bar is this beautiful woman played by Olga Kurylenko, and she is trying to seduce him for a little bit of a nightcap. And you're thinking, he probably shouldn't do that because he's married. He's seemingly happily married, and he's going on some kind of trip with his wife the next day. His wife is played by Hera Hilmar. Now, the story doesn't really explicitly state what happens between the man, the married man, and that beautiful woman. Do they have a one-night stand? Do they not? You don't see any kind of scene happen at the beginning. What happens is the next day, he and his wife, they're up in the hot air balloon, and there is the person who's navigating that balloon, played by Kelsey Grammer. And wait, there is one customer who's late, and that customer is that character played by Olga Kurylenko, the woman that man met at the bar. So when they go up in that hot air balloon, you're wondering, did he cheat on his wife? Is this woman bad? Why is this woman threatening him? She's trying to extort money from him. And so you're going to have to figure out, is the woman, who's the bad person? Is it the man? Is it the woman? Does the wife know anything about this? There's a little bit of suspense going on all the time. All the while, Kelsey Grammer is this unknowing guy who's just trying to help them navigate from point A to point B in this really nice day up on that hot air balloon. What turns out to be seemingly a nice time turns into, the movie states in its title, Turbulence. And that is the premise of this movie, which hits theaters Friday, December 12th, as well as digital and on demand. My thoughts on this movie, my review on the movie, it's a cheeseburger. It's one of these things where they're not on, it's not Die Hard, it's not stuff in a building, it's not stuff on a boat, it's action on a hot air balloon. And you're wondering, how can they make it interesting? You make it interesting by, when you're up on the hot air balloon, you have some really beautiful vista shots of the mountains and everything looks gorgeous and the sky and the clouds. That's nice. The visuals are nice. But we started off the review with Olga Kurylenko. She's the best part of this entire movie. All right?
It makes sense.
Any movie that Olga Kurylenko's in, for me, it just upscales the experience. The fact that it's set up at a hot air balloon.
If she's not the best part of the movie, it's like, why even have her?
She's
wasting it.
And there's also a subversion of the genre regarding some of the characters in Turbulence, which threw me for a surprise. And the ending shot of Turbulence was solid as well. There is a minor complaint I have with Turbulence, which I will tell. I don't know if I should tell Eric in this later on after we record. I'll ask Eric if I should tell him. There is a minor complaint I have with Turbulence, but it's no fault of the filmmaker. I did interview the filmmaker right now. I have to give him a little bit of justice and love because he does a good job in this movie.
Claudio Fa?
Yeah, Claudio Fa. Thank you, Eric Holmes. Yeah, Claudio Fa. He does a very
Written
good...
by Andy Mason.
Yeah. He does a solid... The writer and director, Claudio Fa, the filmmaker, he does a solid job with this movie. It's escapist fare. It has some really good actors. If you are invested in any of these actors, especially Kelsey Grammer and Olga Kurylenko, you're going to enjoy this film. Again, there is a little bit of a minor complaint, which some of you might agree with me, but I can't really tip my hand on that minor complaint. Overall, this movie is a solid action thriller, solid performances, and I love the ending of the movie. I actually asked, it's a very memorable ending. I asked Claudio about the ending of the film, and I'll also put that up for our Patreon members, and then a week later over at our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. So that is it for Turbulence in theaters.
I do need to know one thing about this.
3.5 stars for me. Turbulence, 3.5 stars. Yes, sir, Eric Holmes.
That's not what you need to know. And I already wrote 6.9, so
I'm sorry.
But,
yeah, 3.5.
Is there a big fight scene on the...
What do you think? What do you think? You haven't seen it, so you can spoil it if you want. What is there going to be a big fight scene? What do you think?
That sounds like a yes.
That sounds like a... As I nod my head yes, I say no comment. There is...
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. And
I wish I had time for this one.
If you actually saw Turbulence, Eric, you would know what my complaint is, because I think you might echo my complaint. And that's all I'm going to say regarding Turbulence.
It sounds like a more action-packed version of like Fall.
Yeah. Fall is really nerve-wracking, right? But this one is...
But what if like Scott Adkins was up there beating the crap out of the person who was up there?
Oh my gosh. That movie Fall, I did see that twist coming, but that was a pretty when that twist happened, I go, oh, that's pretty cool.
I think the twist of Fall was probably the weakest part of it.
Oh, really? Are you kidding me?
It still worked, but it was kind of like it was just kind of like a twist. It was like it didn't need to be there. Like it was so good on its own.
Oh, okay, fair.
Like that, you do that twist, and I'll roll with it, but you didn't need that. Add that little extra ketchup to this burger. It was fine how it was.
Right. There's a couple of little ketchups to this burger for Turbulence as well, and I'm not going to get into, but I will say this. I did guess the right type of condiment that was on this burger. So I did guess correctly on Turbulence. And
was it cheese?
Yeah, I did.
Lots of cheese.
So maybe lots of cheese on Turbulence. But that is 3.5 stars for me from Turbulence. Again, so we're done for this episode. Hunting season. Eric and I both recommended 4 stars, 3.5. Yeah.
If you want to rewind Reverence.
Oh, I forget. Reverence, Eric. Do you want to say anything about Reverence? I just saw it today, and
I just want to hear your thoughts on it, because I think I 5-starred that one.
Yeah, you 5-starred it maybe, I think 2 weeks ago. And Eric, you've run the gamut. You've actually interviewed most of the people involved with Reverence. I'm going to interview Whit Kunstchick tomorrow. I think her name's Whit Kunstchick. She's the police detective. I'm not going to talk about the plot line, but I'm just going to read it on IMDb. Quote, the circumstances behind a missing teenage girl spirals out of control after her traumatized dad, that dad is played, by the way, by Adam Hampton, and a determined detective.
Writer of Hunting Season.
Writer of Hunting Season. Very good, Eric. And a determined detective. That detective is Whit Kunstchick, who I'm going to interview tomorrow. They don't team up, but they're both on a journey to find the missing girl, the daughter of Shannon. Shannon, played by Adam Hampton, and the detective, played by Whit Kunstchick, is Detective Cassandra Truel, I believe. So what I liked about this movie is, and I think it's a warning. I don't know if you warned people last time, Eric. It's 126 minutes. It's a thriller that does not talk down to you. And what I mean by that is, if you were expecting, Eric mentioned Prisoners, and Kyle Kawika-Harris, the filmmaker, during his talk with Eric, he also mentioned Prisoners as a little bit of an influence. So if you like Prisoners, I have a feeling you might like Reverence. And why these two films are, in my opinion, linked to each other, it's because they both exist within a genrefied space, but they are not about the genre. It's really about the unfolding of the drama that occurs within the ensemble cast. Even though it is, for most of the film, Adam Hampton's movie as a traumatized dad, he's a military vet who still has understandable trauma from his past, and it's affecting his present day. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this 126 minutes, and you're trying to figure out what happened to the girl. What is the dad going to do to find the girl?
How is he going to screw it up for the detectives trying to find his daughter as well?
Right. And the detectives, are they buried in red tape? Will they be able to find what happened? And I think what's interesting about Reverence, without giving too much away, is there are a lot of plot threads in this movie because you're trying to follow different roads that might lead to the appearance or the finding of this missing girl. And sometimes these threads, which seem like a big deal while you're watching the movie, are just that. They're just threads that are interwoven within this town set in Chandler, Oklahoma. And I think that's what's very interesting about this thriller is there are different subplots that you think are going places, and you're thinking they do go places, but maybe
it's kind of like Zodiac. It's like narratively, like it's going somewhere, but like for the characters, we're going to follow this, and it dead end. Damn it. Okay, follow this, another dead end, but I can't accept that, so I'm going to pretend this isn't a dead end and keep pushing through anyway. You shouldn't do that.
What's interesting is going towards the dead ends that Eric mentions are interesting because they're really good storytelling.
It also like really annoys the characters. It's like dead ends are part of this sort of thing when you're trying to figure out a missing person or whatever. Like you're going to come across those, but when you're Shannon.
Yeah, the main character.
A dead end. You just can't be the dead end. I already put so much time into this thread. So that's not the answer. Yes, it is. Oh yeah. No, stop. You need to stop right now.
Exactly. Or the detectives, they think they might have a lead and they think that they might be going someplace and they're thinking something might be holding them up, where in actuality, there might be something else that they should be looking down, another road they should be looking forward to. There's also the mother of the daughter. She is a woman who has remarried, and she and her new husband, they're in a well-to-do home and they're just a well-to-do couple, and she's trying to run for mayor in the town. So that's another subplot. While the mother of the missing daughter, she's trying to run for mayor, and she has her priorities within going to the office and whatnot. But you realize those priorities might change. There is, Eric mentioned also when he was talking about the plot a couple of weeks ago, there is the boyfriend of the missing girl who is much older than her, and he comes across and you're thinking, okay, he might be a prime suspect, understandably, but then his story is also very interesting. So with Reverence, if you're looking for a straight ahead crime thriller, which checks out all the boxes and gives you a nice and tidy outcome, okay, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get the nice, tidy ending. What you will get is a very immersive story that will, at least for me, kept me thinking about these different stories and threads that were weaving in and out of each other throughout the narrative. And it's a very deep film. And it doesn't, again, like I said at the beginning of the review, it doesn't insult the audience, meaning there will be some people who will feel insulted because they didn't get their rocks off watching a Z-level crime action thriller. You're not going to get that with Reverence. This is sort of a thinking person's drama wrapped in a crime thriller genre, if that makes any kind of sense, Eric.
Yeah. It's more Silence of the Lambs, or I guess Prisoner is probably the easiest. Like,
I think both.
Yeah,
both of them. The Prisoners, Silence of the Lambs, and then also intermingled.
I think I compared it a little bit to Changeling, the one with Angelina Jolie.
Okay, right.
Because
Yes,
that had missing person elements too.
yeah.
But
And there's also
mostly Prisoners because of the whole idea of the missing person, and then you got the detective trying to figure stuff out, and then you got the person that knows more than them, and they're not doing their job, so I'm going to do it for them.
and then there's a person
Then they end up screwing it up for everyone.
Right, and both of those movies had, like you said, that person who's seeking vengeance by any means necessary. So Reverence. Also, another thing is, with all due respect to the actors, I have not seen a lot of these actors in anything before, at least that I know of. And that led
for now,
and that led to a level of freshness with the movie for me.
Yeah.
It was great to see new faces in this very interesting film. And I hope this movie gets, as the weeks progress, maybe when it hits streaming, it's currently on digital and on demand right now. We will leave a link. Eric Holmes gave it 5 stars. I'm giving this a solid 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars for me for Reverence. Really love this movie. It's one of these things where I think my love for this movie will build as the weeks and months grow on, because there is just a lot of meat to the bone to this movie. And kudos to Eric for giving this 5 stars. I was like, as the movie started, I go, what? Eric gave this movie 5 stars. I don't understand. And then when all the stuff started happening, I go, oh, I get it. I understand right now. So Reverence, high recommendation for me.
Trust.
Trust Eric Holmes. So that is our rewind for Reverence. We still have so much more to cover because Bruce Perky is up in a few moments over at the attic. Please don't tell Bruce Perky about our Amazon links and all that stuff, because Eric gives him kibble. He doesn't even get any kind of pennies from CinemAddicts. Pennies go to us.
He gets people food sometimes.
People food sometimes.
Don't want to do too much; they'll get used to it.
Eric, Christmas is rolling around. Christmas is coming around the corner.
He'll get people food for Christmas.
Oh, that's very, very kind of you, Eric Holmes. All right, that is it for this episode of CinemAddicts. I'm gonna leave the final thoughts and moments to you, Eric. You want to say anything in general? Anything off the top of your head?
Yeah, happy to be jumping back into it. Don't have any interviews coming up yet, but they canceled all the ones I had, and I'll be doing rescheduling some more. But yeah, miss Steve. Sad to see him go, but happy to come back and talk to you about movies and stuff. And hopefully I'll be able to find those IMDb game stuff we put in, then we'll attach that to the thing that we're supposed to do after this, but we ended up doing it before this. And
it's funny.
This whole episode is kind of like Pulp Fiction. It's all over the place.
All over the place. Yeah, yeah. Gosh, it's already 3:20. We rolled for for 90 minutes, Eric. That's pretty interesting. You know why it took long? Because we did that little spoiler. We did a little bit of a spoiler here too. All right, guys.
Yeah, the spoiler that you won't hear on this episode, but you'll hear later on. But we actually recorded it during this episode.
It's so confusing.
John Travolta got shot like halfway through the episode. Now he's about to show up in 2 seconds.
Yeah, so that is it, and we are done. We will see you here next week over at CinemAddicts. Again, Bruce Perky is going to be here in a few moments, but of course, most importantly, all love to Eric Holmes and his family at this very trying time, and that's it. We'll see you here next week on CinemAddicts. Bruce Perky's got to do some rough reviews over at the Cinematic.
Hey, everybody. Here we are for another Cinematic, Attic of Cinema, December edition, where we go through some new movies. None of them are actual screeners. This is a little bit of a weird week. We did get a few screeners, but they were late in the week. So I went for 3 movies that are really newly available to you and one that's in the theater right now. So you're still getting new movies. For the average person, these are movies you either haven't heard of or just have barely had a chance to see. So still going to be value added. We've got Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's a lot of numbers for a movie title. And then we've got Torn. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And we also have the Oscar bait movie for Netflix that made it to the theaters maybe for a short period. I'm not sure about that. I think it did. Now it is streaming on Netflix, and it's J. Kelly. And what should we start with? Let's start with Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Directed by Emma Tammy. I didn't go back and look to see if it was the same person who directed the first one. Starring Josh Hutcherson, Peeta from the Hunger Games as Mike. You've got Piper Rubio as Abbie and Elizabeth Lail as Vanessa. And then you do also have an appearance from Matthew Lillard, who was in the first movie, so he's a ghostly figure of sorts, or in visions or something like that. And you have Skeet Ulrich. So you've got 2 people from the original screen. Skeet Ulrich playing a small role here in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2. So you're thinking to yourself, Bruce, why are you watching Five Nights at Freddy's 2? Come on now. This isn't anything to write home about, probably. I know you like horror movies, but Five Nights at Freddy's 2? I've got 2 kids, and they are 16 and 20, almost 21. So they were in the prime demographic of the original run of Five Nights at Freddy's games. What was that now, like 12 years ago, whatever that was, and 10 years ago. So they have a huge degree of interest and kind of nostalgia, and they know the lore, and believe it or not, there is lore, a lot of lore, to go with Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. So after the first one, they were excited to go see this one as well. And my reaction to this movie is almost identical to Five Nights at Freddy's, and that is both movies are really going to work depending on your expectation and where you come to it. So, for example, like I said, my kids come to it with all this lore and all this interest in it, and they find them to be very satisfying movies. But if you're like just a horror fan, just out of the blue, that knows little to nothing about Five Nights at Freddy's, you're probably going to be like, what is this and why am I watching it? Because it's PG-13. It's not super scary. It does handhold you a fair amount to figure out what's going on, but not in the sense that you're going to necessarily recognize all of these animatronics for what they are in the series. You're just going to be like, there's a big animatronic bear from a pizza place. There's going to be that kind of a thing in your brain. So I would say for the average person, it may just be kind of like why am I watching this and what's going on? Now, some things I think that universally can be appreciated about it is the production design is great. There's a lot of real, I wouldn't say puppets per se, more costumes, animated costumes in the sense that they have a lot of physical animation in the sense of coming like little puppetry robot kind of costume kind of things, kind of like the things you get a lot more in the 80s. And I think that some of this was done by the Muppet Studio. I could be wrong, but I thought I remembered reading that somewhere. So a lot of the costumes are real costumes. They're not just straight up CGI, which you could see being done very easily. And I think that helps a lot in kind of giving you a physicality that gives them a threatening presence above and beyond what they might have if they were straight CGI all the way through, or even worse, AI generated or something. So in that sense, it's pretty good. And then on top of that, the general story is pretty decent as well. I mean, you got a basic setup here of the girl in the first one. How am I going to recap this for you guys? Let's just say the girl that was in the first one had grown to have a weird, like, friendship with these animatronic characters from the first one, but they weren't available to her life anymore. And now she's getting a little bit older. She feels like an outcast, and she feels lost, and she wishes she has those friends again. And then there's a whole plot and a whole reason that a new set of these characters that are not friends, that are actually even more evil than the other ones, that the other ones were evil too. These new set are about to try to escape their captured quality. I don't know how to say it. Their captive quality. They are stuck in the original Freddy's store, a pizza shop, and they can't get out for certain reasons. There's a lot of plot things. It doesn't really matter that much. If you are into the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise and this movie interests you, you're going to have a decent time with it. If you have no interest in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, and you go see this movie, you're probably going to be perplexed and not super interested and probably not have a great time. So I think overall it's getting somewhat negative reviews. I think I looked after the fact. To me, I thought it was not quite a 3-star banger, but it's in that territory where it's definitely hitting the mark it's supposed to hit for the kind of movie it is. Now, for me personally, I enjoyed it pretty well. I had a good time. A part of it was probably colored by the fact I was there with my kids and they were having a really good time and telling me about all the stuff that was happening. So that definitely gave me more enjoyment than I probably would have had if I was just there all alone. But I think personally the only thing I would have liked to have had in my own taste is I feel like it would have been more fun as a rated R movie, because it felt like it was always on the point of these robot costume things are just about to unleash and wreak havoc on various people that we've set up as being not sympathetic in that universe. And you never get to quite see that. You always get pulls its punches. And it does a great job right up to the point of the attacks, but then when the attacks are about to happen, it never goes all the way there. So for me, a little dissatisfying in that aspect. I would probably only go, I still give it a mild recommendation. I'd say 3 stars, and I would say mileage will vary a lot based on your expectation. Like I said before, if you have kids that are really into this whole universe, they're probably going to have a good time. And this also, and I think I might have said this with the first review, and I didn't go back and check my review, and I should have. So if I'm repeating myself, sorry, but they are very similar experiences to me. I think, once again, this movie and the first movie, for a certain selection of people, is going to be their gateway drug. It's going to be their scary movie that they remember as a kid that really freaked them out. Because I think if you're of a certain age, if you're like in that 8 to 9, it's not so gory. It's not so bad that you wouldn't take your kid to see it. But it's literally scary enough for a kid that age that they will probably have some nightmares and want to put their teddy bear in a closet or something and lock it up. So I think in that aspect, it could be, like I said, again, kind of a gateway drug to horror fandom in the future. And that movie they always fondly remember is like this really scary movie when they were a kid. If they ever go watch it again as an adult, they'll be like, why was I scared about that? It's one of those kind of movies where you watch it now, like Poltergeist or something. You watch that now and you're like, it's not that scary a movie for in reality. But if you were just the right age when you saw those kind of movies, they really get under your skin. And I think this is one of those movies. I'm going to go 3 stars. For me, I had a good enough time. I enjoyed it. I give a mild recommendation on just a broad level. And once again, you might go up or down on that recommendation depending on where you approach this movie from. Okay, next up, I've got Jay Kelly. Jay Kelly is Noah Baumbach movie. Once again, Noah Baumbach has made a bunch of movies. I think the one that really put Noah Baumbach on the map for a lot of people is, Squid and the Whale, probably. But they've done a bunch of other movies too. And lately they've done, what was the movie? They did a Marriage Story, I think is what it's called. I think it was a Marriage Story about Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, and really, really, really well acted movie, and kind of a harrowing movie about just a relationship splitting up and just how that just sort of destroys the two characters and how they have to come to peace with it. And it was a really heavy movie, but really, really well done. Probably one of his best realized movies. He had another movie, and I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head, but I think it was a Netflix one. And I think it had Ben Stiller and Adam Sandler in it, an extended family sort of thing, and I can't remember the name of it. And it kind of had a problem of feeling very, very Woody Allen-esque, almost like Woody Allen light. And if you really like those kind of just sprawling, very lightly comedic and lightly dramatic and just, I don't know, interrelationship kind of things, then it didn't really quite work for me. I think Jay Kelly suffers from some similar problems, but even more. Jay Kelly definitely is, it looks like, being pushed as sort of a Oscar bait sort of a movie for sure, especially with the kind of pedigree of the people who got behind here. So first of all, you got Kalmbach, you got George Clooney as Jay, you got Adam Sandler as Ron, his manager, was his assistant manager, I think it's his manager. Jim Broadbent plays a small role, but a really good one. Laura Dern's in here. I think terribly miscast, unfortunately. Emily Mortimer, Greta Gerwig has a small role. Billy Crudup has a small role, but memorable, kind of scene chewing, although that's what he's been doing lately. If you've ever watched the TV series, The Morning Show, you know that Billy Crudup can chew the scenery in some pretty cheesy stuff. And what is Jay Kelly? Jay Kelly is like it's like you take 8.5 and make a real Oscar baity version of 8.5 and kind of filter it through a little bit of sort of Woody Allen-ish kind of stuff, and then a whole bunch of just to slather it with sap, make it just this heartwarming discovery of your true self and the meaning of life. A movie. Jay Kelly's a famous actor. An actor that has been making crowd-pleasing movies for probably 35 or 40 years. You see him as he's just finishing a movie, some kind of detective movie. He's just riddled with charm, as Clooney is. I mean, Clooney's obviously perfectly cast for this because he's just that kind of charming leading man type of guy. And Jay Kelly is that kind of a guy. And you get the feeling he's so well established. He's just a name. He's solid. But he's also on the back end of his career. He's in his 50s, maybe even 60, like the real George Clooney again. And the career, though, isn't his issue. The issue is that he's had this great career, but yet he hasn't really connected with his real life. His two daughters are off doing their own thing. One daughter hardly even talks to him down in San Diego. The other daughter is just about to leave for a summer adventure in Europe. And at that moment, he goes and has a meeting with Billy Crudup, a former friend and actor, the one that he rose up with. And an event occurring around that meeting inspires him to change his life. And he decides he can't miss this time with his daughter. He's gonna just pick everything up and take his whole crew with him. And they're going to essentially dock his daughter and track down his daughter in Europe and meet up with her and join her on the adventure with some kind of a made-up excuse for why he might be doing that other than stalking her. And the excuse is that he's going to accept this tribute to his film career, which he had previously rejected. He had said he wasn't going to accept it, but now they're going to have to give it to him because he has to have an excuse to be out there other than the fact that he's just stalking his daughter and trying to force this reconnection with her before he loses it like he did his other daughter. That's your basic setup. Adam Sandler's like the long-suffering manager, like I said, who's constantly having to manage this somewhat diva-ish star who's also super charming, blah, 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 blah. So what do you get here? Why is this not so great, in my opinion? Other than just the pure sap and schmaltz, the over-sentimentality, the melodrama that's placed on everything, it's one of those movies that to me is like a who cares and a why kind of movie. Like, he's our main character. The movie's named after him. We're following him everywhere. obviously it's his arc that we're trying to follow, which is basically trying to discover what he's lost and what he's given away by being this famous person. But it's so on the nose and it's so obvious. And it's, oh, you mean a big famous star who's spent his whole life in the limelight and is surrounded by this kind of group of people that tell him how awesome he is and make sure that everything goes the way he wants. All that kind of person might be, I don't know, disconnected and not the best dad or spouse in the world. I mean, we've seen that a million times. Got to give me a reason to want him more. And it's almost like the movie wants to have its cake and eat it too. It's cheesecake, I would say, because it's this little thing about cheesecake being on his rider that he doesn't really want, but he does want it, whatever. Have his cake and eat it too, in the fact that it kind of banks on George Clooney's charm to kind of carry this movie and his charisma. But then that's also the critique of the whole movie, is that isn't the real him. And in fact, and it's so on the nose that you have this flashback to a acting teacher when he's coming up, and the acting teacher's critique is that he's just pretending, he's not really embodying the real emotion, and that telling him his whole life is he's going to be acting on stage, but his whole life, if he wants to be a star, because he says, I want to be a star instead of wanting to be a great actor. That's kind of the crux. And the whole thing is, if you want to be a star, not only you have to act and pretend to get yourself famous, but you have to pretend in the rest of your life too, because you're always going to be acting. And that's, ooh, ding, 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 highlights, lampshade, put a big spotlight on it. That's the theme of this movie. He has to act in his regular day life too. He can't be his real him. He has to learn. How's he going to discover how to be the real person and all this kind of stuff? And then the Sandler character is supposed to be kind of the foil, showing how people have sacrificed for him and how Sandler's kind of a real person and a person who really is connected with his life, but is being pushed to decide between his real life and this George Clooney life that he's having to constantly cater to. And how is he going to finally come to terms with that? And once again, it's all just very obvious. It's all been done better a lot of times. It's very schmaltzy and it's very drawn out. This movie's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. There is no reason for this movie to be that long. It's just constantly hitting you over the head with, isn't this charming? Isn't this a great whimsical moment? Oh, isn't this misty-eyed and making us a little sad? There's a lot of these very awkward flashback sequences where, like I said, you find out, you get to see the moment where he became a star basically by getting picked at Billy Crudup's audition instead. George Clooney character got picked instead. The acting class, the early roles with the woman he ends up falling in love with, I guess. You get scenes with his daughters when they were younger, all these kind of things. And they'll do this thing where he'll be like walking somewhere and going through a door into a room, but he comes to the other side of the room and he's in this scene of the past. And it all struck me too as a little bit Scrooge. And I almost was like, oh my gosh, is this going to be a really bad version of that story? You could almost correlate it to that, but I didn't think it didn't quite go one-to-one on that enough to make it work. But there's definitely a level of that going on too, which is also super cheesy in my opinion. So yeah, this really didn't work very well for me. It was way too drawn out, way too manipulative, way too overly sentimental. And just, honestly, the biggest thing was, it was just like the humor wasn't that funny. The heartwarming stuff I didn't really feel, not because it was badly acted. It was fine. The charisma, like I said, especially with Clooney and Sandler, are really well done. But I didn't care about that character. I was like, he is a vacuous character that doesn't care about the people around him and is just riding on his charm. And therefore, I don't care about him. And I don't know why we're spending 2 hours and 20 minutes on this guy. It is not that interesting. So I would have to go 2 stars on Jay Kelly. I know some people are going to love this, but for me, it's just a huge waste of time. And you know how Netflix has, I think they have like a speed thing. And I don't know if they've taken that away. I didn't see it on this movie. You know why I didn't see it on this movie? Because I looked for it. I thought I might turn up the speed to 2x on this one so I can get through it faster. It's about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through this movie. I was like, I don't know if I can make it, but I was committed. I had to. All right, 2 stars for Jay Kelly. Okay, last movie I have this week. the biggest discovery I had this week, the biggest surprise I had this week was a movie called So Torn. Now, it's not S-O torn, it's S-E-W torn, like you're sewing something. Directed by Freddie McDonald. I believe Freddie McDonald also did a short version of So Torn in 2018, 19, 20, something like that. This is the film version. This is another one of those ones where you look up the date of release and it's going to look like it came out last year. It did not. No one saw this last year. It's basically available for people to see now. I may have had a theater run, like a really small indie theater run, but I don't remember seeing it. I do vaguely remember this being available for screeners or showing up for screeners like around the summer. And I remember trying to get a screener for it. For whatever reason we didn't, or it was last minute, or it wasn't available. I don't know. But I'm sad I didn't get it back then because this was a really good surprise to me. It came up, I saw it pop up just last week. And I was like, wait, that was a movie I was interested in. And then Joseph Bridges had posted a post about it, saying something about how it was this oddball film, a sort of a combination of Run Lola Run and a Coen Brothers movie, which is a really apt thumbnail way to describe this movie. And I ended up watching it, and it was just my tone. Now it'll be too preposterous for some people and too maybe stylized for some people, but I think that is a big chunk of its charm. So what is So Torn? First of all, you got a bunch of different characters here. You got Barbara, played by Eve Connolly, Hudson, played by John Lynch, Josh, played by Callum Worthy, Freddie McDonald is the director. I'm probably not going to remember who the names are, the different people. I'm just going to describe them in some basic terms so you kind of know what's going on and give you just the thumbnail version of what this is, because I think it's really worth watching. Once again, if you liked Run Lola Run, if you like the Coen Brothers movies that are about some sort of a crime situation going sideways, especially where you get out like the money that everyone wants to have and get and causes trouble, those kind of movies, then I think you'll at least be drawn into this movie. Now, whether it'll fully work for you, that's a whole other question, because I'm going to give you the basic artifice that's built into this movie, which I think makes it awesome and unique, but for some people it would be just too preposterous to take. So basic situation is Barbara, Eve Connolly, once again, she carries this movie. She is like the main person. She is this young woman living, it looks like the Swiss Alps, like a little small area in the Swiss Alps. It's beautiful. It's all spoken in English. There's no subtitles if that's a problem for you. This is like an American movie where your characters live there apparently, but they're just speaking English. It is what it is. She is running this really tiny seamstress shop. It's taken it over from her mother, who's passed away recently. You don't really talk about how, except maybe a cancer or something, but you can tell that Barbara isn't really over it. And Barbara, though, is still stuck with the shop. She's a great seamstress, but she's also probably wanting to escape this life. She's haunted still by the memory of her mother. There's this weird thing where she's got threads all over the ceiling, and this is this part where you're kind of like, this is kind of a little bit overdone. She has these little threads built into sewn pictures where you pull a thread and it has a little recorded piece of that person. And that's a specialty. They do those things as these sewn vocal memory things that they will sell people, where they can get a sewn picture of their grandfather, and then you pull the little thing and you'll hear the grandfather from some time when he talked in your life. That kind of a thing. So anyway, they have that as a setup. You see her go out in one of her jobs, which she has to go out and do some alterations on this woman's wedding dress right before the woman's wedding. The woman is mean to her, and Barbara finds an excuse to throw a wrench in this woman's wedding plans by she, quote unquote, loses this button. She knocks it down a heating vent, and the woman's furious. You need that button. I need that button in minutes. We're going to get married soon. So she's supposed to rush back to the seamstress shop to get a new button. And Barbara's on her way, driving down this beautiful mountain road in the Alps, and she sees two wrecked motorcycles, two people dragging themselves down the middle of the road, both injured from the wreck, a briefcase with a broken handcuff attached to it, and at least one of the two people, if not both of them, had guns that are now laying on the road. She's obviously driven into the middle of some sort of a criminal endeavor where things have gone awry, and she stops and she has a choice to make. And that's the Run Lola Run setup of this movie. She has three choices. She can try to perpetrate the perfect crime. She can call the police, or she can just drive away from the situation. And essentially what you'll see is the rest of the movie is the alternate realities that occur when she makes each of those three choices. Now that sounds, okay, that's cool. It's kind of like you said, like a crime thriller, a little bit creative, a little bit whimsical. But the thing you don't quite capture about that is, in each of these scenarios, what is highly involved is her seamstress abilities. Now you're like, how are her seamstress abilities used? I don't even want to tell you because it's so outlandish and so weird. It's almost as if she were a superhero. Now, don't get me wrong, she's not a superhero. But if she's a superhero, like the seamstress, like that was her thing, and she had a big thimble on her chest or something, that would almost give you the idea of sort of the way this progresses, because she does such outlandish things with needles and threads and bobbins in each of these scenarios to make things occur. Very almost Rube Goldberg style of things happening. And to me, it was always fascinating. It was always stylish. It was cut with a huge amount of energy, some humor, some tension. And it was just always done in a way that just kept me, at least me, engaged fully with this movie. I really, really enjoyed it. Now I could see a lot of people seeing that and saying, this is so outlandish, this is ridiculous, this is stupid, this is dumb. I could see that response from a lot of people. This is unbelievable. I could see that kind of thing too. And I just thought to myself, like, what do you say to people who say that? First of all, you're not going to like everything. Sure. Some people it's just not going to work for some people. I get that. But also, the average action thriller is unbelievable. There's always unbelievable, like highly unrealistic things happening. But usually they're always the same kind of highly unrealistic and unbelievable things that are happening. And to me, that's what kind of makes them boring. They really aren't unique. And this is so unique and so weird and so unusual that I don't care if it's unrealistic. I'm just loving the fact that it's something I've never quite seen before. I've never seen sewing and needles and thread and a seamstress used in the middle of this crime thriller action plot. And I loved it. I was fully engaged, and her character, and that's the other thing is Eve Connolly is just carrying this role. She's just got this combination of kind of determination, and I mean, she's beautiful, but she's got this determination and tenacity, and there's this kind of intricate intelligence. It's almost like Mission Impossible-esque also at sometimes. I really, really love this movie. I think this is obviously destined to become a cult hit with some people. It's destined to be a discovery for a lot of people. For the people this hits, like myself, it's going to really hit and come out of nowhere. You're like, where the heck did this movie come from? Why is no one talking about this movie? That's the feeling you're going to have, I think, if you watch this movie. Now, realistically, if you're just watching this out of the blue, like, what is the star rating for this? I don't know, 3.5, 4. For me, if you're like me, and it just got you, it just hit you in the right spot, and you could watch this again and again. Certain sequences you think about, I just want to see that again because it was so cool. I'm going to go 5 stars. For me, this is a 5-star movie. I'm really curious what Eric and Greg would think of this movie. I could see them both really liking it, but I could also see at least one of them just being annoyed by it because it's I don't know. This is one of those movies that could tip for some people almost into Wes Anderson territory, being too cute or too I don't know, just something about it being a little bit too cute for its own good or something, or just too clever for its own good. But I was like, no, I'm eating it up. I really love the creativity. I really love seeing something in a version I've never seen before. And the preposterous mousetrap, Rube Goldberg, like I said, kind of stuff that's going on here just made it, on top of an already well done, just a crime thriller, just a straight ahead crime thriller. It just gave it that extra sauce that was just so good. There's even a moment, I don't want to really give it away exactly. There's a moment that involves a song and dance sort of element to it. It's not a musical, don't worry, but a song and dance element that I thought was fantastic too. I'm really curious to hear when more of our movie crowd out there, CinemAddicts movie crowd, starts catching up to this, what the thoughts are on it, because I know that Joseph Bridges liked it. I don't know if he liked it as much as I did, but he liked it quite a bit. And I think quite a few other people in our group will end up liking it as well. So look into So Torn. I think it's currently on Netflix. I think it might also be on Amazon Prime. So I think you can see it a few places. It's super available. I think it was very underestimated. This seems to me like the kind of movie too that it acts as a proof of concept reel for this director and writer. I think that the person wrote and directed it. Maybe not getting picked up as a writer necessarily, but the low budget version of this movie is so skilled and so deftly paced and directed and edited that any film studio worth their salt should see this and go, let's give this person some money and see what else they can do. Maybe whether it's A24 or Neon or whoever it is. It doesn't have to be a major studio, but even one of those studios is more into some quirkier, weirder projects. I would really love to see them give a little money to this director to see what else this director has up their sleeve. Even if it's not something they wrote, even if they just purely directed it, I'd like to see what they do. Once again, So Torn. 5 stars for me. I think it's worth it. That's all I've got this week. We'll see what we have next week, but I have a feeling, I don't even know what we have on the docket for next week, but I just have a feeling in my bones that there's going to be some interesting stuff. I'm going to see if I can catch up with any of the Oscar buzzy sort of movies. I know there's a few out there that have just hit digital. Try to see if I can catch a couple of those, and I'm sure we'll have a couple other interesting movies for you as well. And maybe we'll start throwing some year-end lists at you too. I'm thinking this year, and there's a bunch of major releases that everybody's got on their list, which I would too. I think maybe I'll do like I've done in years past and do like maybe a top 5 or a top 10 cinematic movies of the year. That is movies that you probably haven't heard of or are so small and under talked about for the year that deserve to continue getting highlight that we discovered through being on this podcast. So I'm going to probably work on a top 10 cinematics movie of the year, or the cinematic movies of the year. Anyway, talk to y'all soon.